Hey guys, Chris 4K Motoring back with you today. We're going to do a pretty quick brake pad swap on my 2001 Corvette. Was going to do a whole rotor pad everything swap. Was looking at some prices. Willwood actually has a really nice kit that kind of modernizes brake calipers. Both rotors and calipers a little bit bigger, more modern, kind of double-sided pistons instead of the sliding calipers. That kit's about $1,300 last I looked. Got some other things that are kind of on the priority list for this car, so it's kind of taking a back seat. Saw my pads were a little bit worn, really no vibration in the steering wheel or pulsing the brakes, so I think the rotors are okay. They don't really seem embedded or lipped or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and just throw a set of new pads on these rotors. Shouldn't take long, and we'll get back to driving it. Alright, so this is what I picked up. These are the Power Stop Z26 formula, the Extreme Performance pads. If you guys haven't bought these before, they're usually pretty decent. I've not tried the Z26. I've tried their typical Z23 stuff before. They have pretty decent break-in instructions on them, and includes lubrication pads and hardware here. So we'll go ahead and throw those on. I'm going to time, hopefully it takes less than an hour. Fingers crossed. Alright, we're going to start with our wheel chocks here. I know this rotor, the rear driver's side, was the one that was pretty worn on one of the pads before, so we're going to start there. So we'll go ahead and put our wheel chocks on our front wheels. The car's angled downhill forward, so just put them on the front. For those that haven't seen these before, these are little jacking pucks that go along with these cars. They're available on Amazon and most places pretty easily. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm going to bring you around. See the little jacking point there? This fits right up into that. Twist 180 degrees, and now we have a solid point that's not on the fiberglass to jack the car up. Okay, what you're going to need here, you're going to need a 19mm to take off the wheel nuts, the lug nuts, at least in my car. I know they're aftermarket, it might not be the same in the stock ones. The caliper bolts, it's going to be the top and bottom just to take the actual caliper off, not the retaining bracket. Those are going to be 5/8 inch. You're going to need both a ratchet or some sort of socket for the back of it, and a wrench, open-ended wrench, to keep it from spinning. And then of course your pads. So stand by, let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, this starts the easy part. These pads will literally just slide out of here with a little bit of force. You can see how they're, disintegrating here. See how much is left to them. The groove is still there. They're not metal on metal yet, but man, that is not much left. And let's see this side. So we've definitely got more on the inside than the outside, and that is because, unlike modern calipers that have a piston on both sides to apply equal pressure, there's only a caliper or only a piston on this one side, and the whole caliper is meant to slide. So by forcing the piston this way, as long as the pins are lubed, these pins right here, top and bottom, it should move the caliper and locate it so it's equal pressure, but we can see that didn't happen here. To remedy that, we're going to go ahead and pull these pins out, and it's not difficult. It just requires a little bit of force straight back. We're going to clean them and lube them before we put them back in. Okay, you can see that's all pretty much dried up lubricant that's on there. No job is ever complete without a little bit of brake cleaner, so we'll go ahead, we're going to spray these parts a little bit, let that sit and soak. make sure we kind of clean out that caliper here. There we go. All right, just to show you a little bit of the hardware difference. So the pad that came off of the outside of the wheel here is just smooth. There's nothing, no brackets on it. The one from the inside of the car had the squeal indicator on it. So we make sure we keep those straight. On our new pack, I'll just kind of put this down so you can see the difference. This is our original one. Here's our new one. I mean, you can see the thickness difference. So we'll go ahead and install these. We'll change out the little metal tabs here that just pop out. We'll go ahead and put the new ones in their place. So we have new hardware. We'll lubricate everything, put the new pads on, and this thing will be back together. When it comes to the caliper, obviously you have to compress that piston back into the caliper itself. That way there's room, because as you can see, I mean, this whole assembly is a whole lot thicker than the worn pads that were in there. So to do that, there's a couple ways. There are official presses, brake caliper presses you can have that apply, you know, nice even pressure all the way back. We don't have one of those. I've always used a wrench like this that you can get wide enough to grab both the piston and a firm piece on the caliper. Just be careful that you're not scratching metal off. You have to apply very even pressure. Generally recommended to put something on these blades to cover that. That way you don't etch out any metal or cause any damage. After doing that one side, I'll go ahead and hit the brakes just to make sure I pump up that caliper. That way we kind of minimize the chances of our master cylinder overflowing under the hood, and then we'll go ahead and get to the other side. Alright guys, backhand is now done. That's usually the easy side. One thing I didn't mention in the early part of the video, after the wheels are on the ground, make sure you torque the lug nuts back. Around 100 pounds is what I go with. I'll post the actual torque spec here. But that you can see, that's all there is to it. It's a pretty simple job. We'll go ahead and get the front done and close out this video. that is it. New brake pads are on. If it was replacing rotors, it would just require one extra step of taking those caliper brackets off first. One thing I'll note is that the hardware on the front calipers was actually a 15 millimeter is what fit. So I don't know if those are aftermarket bolts. I don't know if they're more rounded off than the back, but the back was 5/8, the front was 15 for whatever that's worth. But we were done. There is a break-in procedure for these brakes. I'll go ahead and post the picture of that here. That way you guys have it. It involves, as the instructions say, 4 or 5 aggressive acceleration, or decelerations rather, 4 or 5 times slowing down from 40 to 10 miles an hour. You do that in a row real fast to get the brakes really hot. Then you do 5 moderate decelerations from 35 miles an hour to 5 miles an hour, and then let your brakes cool off for about 5 minutes. What you really don't want to do during that time is stop with your foot on the brake. That will let the pads apply pressure to the rotors and might imprint themselves, some of that braking coating on the rotor, which is what gives you some of that warped feeling and makes it kind of uncomfortable to drive. So with that, we are done. We will break them in the first time we go drive, but hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it was informative. It's a pretty easy job for you to tackle yourself. No need to pay somebody to do it, that is for sure. Stay following the channel here with 4K Motoring. We will certainly have more in the future.